Hello everyone, this is Rexer of the YouTube and Twitch channel NotQuiteThereGaming, bringing you another Warframe guide. Oh, it's been about 3 weeks since the last one, I think. Exams, sorry. Also, it's the third time that I actually record the Saryn guide, because the first one was too long, the second one I didn't like. Hopefully this one will be exactly right. So we're gonna be taking a look at Saryn today. And we're going to be taking a look at a build of Saryn that is, or should be, common knowledge. So don't expect anything too groundbreaking from this guide. But if you have been on the fence about Saryn, or maybe you haven't heard about Saryn, this should help you decide to pick her up, because she's a very good option if you want to do ability damage, especially instantaneous ability damage, which is a rarity in Warframe. Okay. So first of all, I want to talk about two syndicate mods that you should be getting for Saryn. First we have Winds of Purity. Winds of Purity is not actually a mod for Saryn, it is a mod for the Furis secondary weapon, but it gives you a health regeneration option, a very strong health regeneration option by means of lifesteal. And because Saryn is so dependent on her life pool for defense, this will synergize very well with Saryn. Also because we will be using Rage, the Rage mod, in our build. And next we have, let's see if I get the right syndicate here. Next we have Regenerative Molt. Here we go. This is an actual mod for Saryn. It augments the Molt skill to heal her as well as do everything else, which pretty much makes Molt the, I wouldn't say the best skill in the game, but it certainly makes it the most useful self-utility skill in the game. With this mod attached, even without it, it's incredible. I really like the changes they have done to Molt recently, or, well, recently, in past months. I'm going to be showing you two main builds, and I'm going to be showing you the Furis pistol as well, just so you have a basic idea of how to build it. And there will be, of course, links to the Forma precise builds in the description of the YouTube video. So don't take the Forma layout I have on the video itself, because that is the result of experimentation. Now let's take a look here. Mods, disregard that. Nothing, you saw nothing. First we will be taking a look at this particular build. So we have enemy radar as an aura. Enemy radar, of course, is the aura that I most favor for pretty much every Warframe, because it's basically wall hacks. It shows you where the enemies are on the minimap, and for Saryn especially that is useful because of the way she will rely in this build on her ultimate, Miasma, and if you don't know where enemies are, you might end up miscasting and just wasting energy. If you have this aura, you will know if enemies are nearby to have a Miasma cast on them, and you will have a much more energy efficient time. Also, Miasma goes through walls, so this skill is very good and much better than identifying targets yourself. This mod, excuse me. You can also consider corrosive projection, because that reduces enemy armor, and of course that means that you will do more damage with your ultimate skill. But usually it's better to have corrosive projection on if everyone else in your team has corrosive projection. Otherwise it's just delaying the inevitable, and it might not be a sizable enough delay anyway. So I thoroughly recommend enemy radar for Saryn as usual. I also considered regeneration, or rather rejuvenation, for the passive heal. It's a good option, and you shouldn't really be in too much of a hurry to replace rejuvenation as your aura, but it's not good enough regeneration for the long run. Now the gist of this build is there's a really weird thing about Saryn's ultimate, in which it has damage per second, but if you reduce the total duration of it, the damage doesn't go down per total, it actually goes up. What the fuck? This is actually the reason why I delayed building Saryn for so long, because it's so wonky, and I would not be surprised if someone would balance Saryn's ultimate into something more reasonable. But until then, the basic idea of the build is get as much negative power duration as possible. So we want fleeting expertise at max rank, even though the downside is usually a downside. This time we actually want it, so get it at max. Get it at max. I'm serious, this is not a mistake. Then we have Streamline to have maximum 75% power efficiency. We have Intensify for power strength without any downside. We have Transient Fortitude maxed on purpose for extra power strength and negative power duration, again. And we also have the Arcane Chlora helmet, which adds stamina, but that isn't really a thing, and reduces power duration further. I would almost recommend that you not try Saryn if you don't have the Arcane Chlora helmet to get the most possible power duration reduction for her, for this sort of a gimmick thing. Then we have Stretch for extra power range. Of course, if we want to spam abilities, we want some extra range. We have Vitality for extra health, because Saryn has a lot of base health to begin with, and of course the effectiveness of Vitality is dependent on how much base health you have. So as you can see here, about 1110 health for Saryn, which is really nice. She has decent armor, and we have a Rage to convert damage on health. Big health pool converts damage on health to energy. Sort of circumvents the fact that she doesn't have such a great energy pool. And we have Regenerative Molt, which regenerates that health when you lose it. So this is a very synergetic build, because we have Miasma, her ultimate. We are building for it with negative power duration and power strength. That kind of screws up her other skills, but we have a nice synergy because we can take advantage of Saryn's high health to get energy from taking damage, and then we regenerate. So the idea is Miasma, 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 spam it. Then when you run out of energy, just stand there and take some damage, and then you can regenerate with Regenerative Molt, and then you can keep spamming your damage skill. Now I can't of course take much credit for this build, because it's something that has been known for Saryn for a long while, but I have recently discovered it for myself, and I want to talk a little bit about possible variations. Now, Intensify, Transient Fortitude are musts. Fleeting Expertise at max is a must. Streamline, any rank of Streamline, it's just more mod point effective if you have it at this rank, is a must. Vitality, also a must. So we have 3 mods here that can be replaced. We have Stretch, Regenerative Molt, and Rage. Now, mods you can consider for those slots are, of course, these 3, but also we have Overextended, which will reduce the damage of Saryn's skills, as you can see here, but it isn't that big of an impact. The base build, this build, will do about 12k damage with 1 Miasma cast. With Overextended you will do about 8k damage with 1 Miasma cast, but it will have much longer range, much bigger coverage area, so it's much easier to use with Overextended on. Another mod you want to consider is probably Steel Fiber for extra armor. Now, Saryn isn't as highly armored as she used to be relatively in the past, but Steel Fiber still has potential for Saryn. Personally, I don't really consider Steel Fiber for my build of her, because I don't think it has a sufficiently high enough impact on actual damage reduction. You can check out armor values and the effect of steel fiber on them in the Warframe wiki article for steel fiber. It is very detailed. I thoroughly recommend it. Personally, I don't think it's worth it. So the idea for me is find a balance between stretch, regenerative, molt, rage, and overextended. Now, the first build you saw, and I told you to unsee it for a little while, is my preferred balance. We have stretch, overextended for maximum range. Basically, with this amount of range, you can kill anything you can see on the minimap as a blip. It's very useful, and it makes for some easy times farming for EXP and other things. If you, for example, run Draco for Interception EXP. And we have Regenerative Molt as the regeneration option for Saryn. I opted out of Rage because I don't really feel that much of a drain on my energy if I cast Miasma wisely through enemy radar, through use of enemy radar. And with the extra range, I don't need to really recast it that often either, because I have good coverage. So yeah, the basic idea though is when you are building Saryn, like I said, obligatory, 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 obligatory. Corrosive projection or enemy radar recommended as the aura. And in these slots, always have a regeneration option for Saryn, because if she relies on her health for defense, you have to be able to regenerate it. If you want to bring a friend to regenerate it, okay, but you can't rely on that always. So either have regenerative molt, or you can try the Furis with the mod I spoke about before. Now let's take a brief look at the Furis and the way I built it. It's not a set in stone recommendation, but this is the basic idea of building the Furis to be a self-heal gun. We have Barrel Diffusion and Lethal Torrent for multi-shot and fire rate. We have Forward Strike for extra damage. We have Winds of Purity for the actual lifesteal. And we have Seeker for punch-through, for piercing through obstacles, which is very useful. And let me tell you why it's very useful. I have been using Seeker on my Synoid Gammacor for a while, and I really love it. But the idea in this case is, if you are trying to heal yourself by shooting people with your Furies, you're probably hurt. Okay? That's 100% almost the case. There's like okay, it's probably 100% the case. I don't want to be you know, I said this isn't set in stone, but you're hurt, you don't want to get hurt more. Okay? The punch through will help you because you can take cover behind obstacles and actually shoot through them. You can shoot through pillars, you can shoot through enemy cover, you can shoot through other enemies, you can shoot through your friends. And you will be able to get that tasty lifesteal without actually exposing yourself to damage. So that is why it is very important for a heal gun build like this to take Seeker. Of course, Winds of Purity, Seeker. These three mods are kind of no-brainers for any secondary weapon, and whatever you want in these other three slots, it really makes no difference. The Furis is not a gun that is very competitive. You can't really do too much damage with it, so even without these two slots dedicated to damage enhancement, it won't make much of a difference. The Synoid Gammacor just leaves the Furis in the dust. The Furis has about 9k DPS, the Synoid Gammacor has about 50k DPS. So there's that. So Winds of Purity, not going to be a problem if you slot it. If you take one more slot for Seeker, it's not going to be a problem for your damage potential either. It's going to be low anyway. The idea is to get as much health regeneration as potential as possible, and Seeker accomplishes that. You will almost guaranteed to generate more health than you need to with a Furies built for lifesteal, but it's kind of a bad idea because you forgo being able to take another weapon, a better more damage focused weapon in that slot, like for example the Synoid Gammacor that I was talking about previously. There is a Synoid Gammacor build that you can check out on my channel as well, which a lot more people should be checking out because this is an awesome weapon, honestly. This weapon, of course, does not give you health regeneration. It does give you energy regeneration, however, and it gives you a tremendous amount of damage potential. So that is why I opted out of taking the Furies, I opted out of taking Rage, and I took Regenerative Molt for my own regeneration. I have the Synoid Gammacor for regenerating energy and for awesome single target damage, or for awesome pierce through damage for a line of targets. So this is my preferred build, and this is what I recommend that you take, okay? Otherwise, keep in mind either Regenerative Molt or the Furies with Winds of Purity. You need health regeneration. Good. That should be it for the mod part of this build. If you want to stick around and listen to my opinions about Saryn's skills, please do. If not, I want to mention just one thing before you go. Miasma has a stun component and a damage component. If you reach a point at which Miasma is no longer very good damage, if you can no longer one-shot enemies with one cast of Miasma, do take advantage of the stun component. Don't recast like a crazy fucking spammer. Wait for the stun to wear out as well and shoot some people in the face while it is active, okay? And then you can keep spamming. Trust me, it's worth your time. Okay, so let's take a look at abilities. We have, for Saryn, we have Venom, Molt, Contagion, and Miasma. Now this build only relies on two of these, Molt and Miasma. Let's start with Miasma. Everything I just said regarding the stun component. The stun component is roughly 4 seconds, and it doesn't seem to be influenced by the negative power duration. That is why it is very useful. Miasma with this build seems to act in the following way. You cast it. The cast is very fast. It takes immediate effect, which is very unusual for most other Warframe abilities. Immediate damage. There will be about 2 ticks of damage if I'm not mistaken. Then the damage runs out, but the enemies will still be stunned for about 4 seconds, time in which you can just shoot them in the face, which is very nice. At the end of that, cast Miasma again and keep doing it until everyone is dead. For most missions, it should be enough to just cast Miasma. It's very good damage. If you take the non-overextended build, you get 12k damage. It should be enough to kill almost everything. With the overextended build, you will get much better coverage, and unless you know you're heading into something especially tough, I do recommend you take overextended just for that additional coverage. It's very helpful, very, very helpful. Otherwise, not much to say about Miasma. It's a unique skill, a very tricky skill. I mean, that particularity of the way for building it with negative power duration is very weird. It ends up being a good result, but I'm still not very comfortable with it. Still, in the meantime, use Miasma to farm Draco, for example, for EXP, for yourself, for your weapons, for your syndicate, and you can use it in a wide variety of situations, even defense missions, endless defense missions, even survival missions. I, not so recently now, did a survival mission to wave 60. Sorry, to minute 60, so 60 minutes survival. And it was me as Saryn, it was Nova Prime, I believe. It was Necros, and it was Loki. So Loki was awesome as usual. Necros just helped us with drops. Nova Prime with extra damage, with damage enhancement on enemies and slowing. And I basically, with Miasma, I would either kill enemies outright, or after about minute 40 I would severely damage them and keep them stunned long enough for me or my teammates to just kill them. It was a complete and total cakewalk. I thoroughly recommend Saryn even in those situations, but don't just stand there and take the damage. Speaking of that, we have Molt. So, shedding her skin like a snake, Saryn leaves a decoy behind to draw fire from enemies. Molt was pretty much just a decoy. It was a copy of the decoy skill from Loki on another Warframe, except for the way that you cast it. So, in this build, Molt only lasts for about 3 or 2 seconds. It's not very long. You can't actually use it as a decoy, but you can use it as a temporary distraction. So if you're getting shot up, start running the other way, press the 2 button to drop your Molt. You won't even pause to drop it, and it will take shots for you while you take cover somewhere. Also, Molt nowadays gets rid of your status effects, so that is very good. And with regenerative Molt, you will gain about 200 or 300 HP back from it as well. That is also an interesting thing about regenerative Molt, interacting with negative power duration. Normally, it would severely damage regenerative Molt's ability to heal you, but because we are also focusing on power strength, it heals for less, but heals for less time, but it heals for more HP during that time, so it's still useful. With everything taken into consideration, Molt gives you a brief amount of breathing room with acting as a decoy, as a distraction. It clears your status effects and it regenerates your health, so it's a very good defensive skill. So in order to keep Saryn from dying, learn how to use Molt effectively, and also be a little bit more acrobatic than this Warframe would indicate, because she's a slow Warframe. Don't just stand there and take it. This is especially aimed at you former Rhino players. I know you're used to standing there and taking it, but trust me, acrobatics is really nice in this game. Now lastly, we have Venom and Contagion. In this build they both suck. Contagion just sucks overall. There is some potential to build Saryn for positive power duration and power strength, and relying on Contagion, and there are some augment mods for Contagion in the works. But right now it sucks, so there's no point in talking about it. It's pretty much always sucked, so whatever. Venom, on the other hand, has not always sucked, but previously, in like a year, almost 2 years ago, damn, Venom used to be a very good skill because of the propagation potential. Popping spores, of course, causes spores to jump to other enemies and damage them as well. So the propagation potential was great, and the damage used to ignore armor completely. Nowadays, with damage 2.0, all of Saryn's abilities no longer ignore damage completely, but have their own damage typing, which is a shame. And Venom also now succumbs to that little thing. The damage potential for Venom, even with good propagation, is nowhere near as good as Miasma with this sort of a negative power duration build. So you're not losing out on much, I'm sad to say. It's also historically a very buggy skill, because way back in the day, like I was saying, 2 years or 1 year ago, you used to not be able to see the spores in order to pop them and propagate the skill, so not losing out on much. Rely on Miasma, rely on Molt, be energy efficient, and enjoy having the Synoid Gammacor, because that will regenerate your energy some from time to time. It's very good. Alright, I think that's pretty much it for Saryn. I don't think I'm forgetting anything, but I might be wrong. I don't know. Regarding other weapons, you might want to consider taking a weapon that is good for Zoran coptering. For example, I favor the Tipedo recently, because Saryn is usually by the base speed of Saryn is very low, so you want to have a means of zipping around really fast. Otherwise, pretty much it. Thanks everyone for watching this guide. Thank you for your continued interest in my Warframe guide series. Thank you to those of you who are watching for the first time. And have fun with Warframe. Saryn is pretty much the best instantaneous damage Warframe I have found so far, so do give her a try, especially if you have an Arcane Chlora helmet somewhere lying around. If not, maybe not so good. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. This has been Rexer of the YouTube and Twitch channel NotQuiteThereGaming, signing off.